Notorious anti-Muslim Congressman Peter King of New York had a meeting with Trump yesterday, and guess what he proposed in their talks? I don't even think I need to say it. You know. So Newsday explains here. King told reporters after the discussion at Trump Tower in Manhattan that he relayed recommendations for the Justice Department and the FBI to be more leaning forward when it comes to investigating Islamist terrorism. He said, quote, "I suggested a program similar to what Commissioner Kelly did here in New York, and that we can't worry about political correctness." So for those of you who don't know what that was, it was blanket Dragnet surveillance of all Muslims in New York City. Blanket Dragnet surveillance of all Muslims in New York City. If you're Muslim, you have zero Fourth Amendment rights. You have no protection from unreasonable search and seizure. The government was up your ass. Now, that's number one, massively unconstitutional. But even putting that aside, the efficacy of it. Now, this is something where the right-wingers would go, I mean, come on, of course it's effective. Duh. Well, let's take a look at that. The NYPD themselves had to admit in a court of law, we got literally 0 leads from this program. 0. Because guess what? It turns out when you spy in an entire community, they turn against you and they don't like you and they view you as the other and they think that you're oppressing them because you are. Now, compare that to what they did in Canada, for example. There was a giant terrorist attack that was stopped because there was an open line of communication between cops in Canada and the Muslim community. So there was an imam who went to the police who said, "Look, man, we got these guys coming to the mosque, and they seem a little hoo-hoo. They seem a little off and like they drank the jihadist Kool-Aid, if you know what I'm saying. So I think that they're planning something. You might want to look into them." And then the cops looked into them, and they had probable cause because of the information given by the imam, and boom, what'd they find? Hey, they were planning a train attack, and they foiled the plot. So they got more done by having open lines of communication with the community and trusting the community and respecting the community and understanding that most Muslims are not terrorists. So when you accept that and you treat them like that, look at that. Turns out they want to help everybody in sight. And oh, hey man, look, I think something's going on here. I think something's going on there. So, but look, that's not the only argument. Like the argument of, oh, they're helpful in stopping other terrorist attacks. That's true, but that's also not the only reason why you shouldn't fucking otherize them and be tribalistic in your approach to them. There are basic civil liberties and human rights reasons why you don't take an entire religion and go, you're all just as bad as Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Basic human decency should lead you in that direction. But if basic human decency isn't enough for you, efficacy of it should be enough for you. Because it's massively unconstitutional, and also, they got literally 0 leads off of it. But Peter King, being the idiot he is, and Donald Trump being the moron he is, they got together and go, yeah, you know, I think we should spy on the Muslims. I think it's tremendous. Peter King's like, oh yeah, no, totally not. We don't have any political correctness is the problem. Political correctness, we got political correctness. Peter, it's not political correctness. It's correctness. There's not a single liberal in the country that would say to you, hey, if you have probable cause, if you have evidence, you can't get a warrant and do a search of certain Muslims who are suspected of a crime or suspected of terrorism. Everybody in the world agrees with that. Everybody in the world, hey, you have evidence? Hey, you have probable cause? By all means, here's a warrant. Go ahead and do your search. That's basic police work. But what you want to do is say, we don't need specific warrants to search specific people or places or things. We just want to, everybody in that community is guilty enough. But that's not true. And also, you have information overload when you do that. You're going to spy on all the Muslims? Well, guess what? There's enough Muslims. As a percentage, it's a very small number in the U.S., obviously, which is why the fear of Sharia taking over is just stupid. But as a raw number, that's a lot of manpower that you need in the intelligence agencies to spy on all the different Muslims. That would take up all the time. And guess what? That's information overload, and you're never going to be able to actually detect the threat because you cast too wide a net, you fucking pricks. So, but these are the people Trump, cuddling up to people like this. That's wonderful. There's a new report out about the person Trump wants for Israeli ambassador. Oh boy. This is a guy who's against a two-state solution, for Israel expanding settlements even further, and the guy is to the right of Benjamin Netanyahu. There are right-wing parties. Likud in Israel goes, You know, that guy's a little extreme. He even questioned the citizenship of Israeli Arabs. This is who Trump's surrounding himself with. John Bolton, the guy who never met a war he didn't like, wants to do a war with Iran right now, defends the Iraq war to this day. The guy who was the most aggressive in pushing the bullshit of Saddam Hussein did 9/11. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. A liar through and through, and a hawk through and through, and a neocon through and through. He wants him as number 2 at the State Department behind ExxonMobil CEO. Gee, I wonder if we're going to have oil wars as a result of this. So he's picking everybody super hawkish against civil liberties. There's no reason to defend this garbage. This guy's not draining the swamp. He's building a swamp on the White House lawn, and you need to know it.